Who is afraid of the big old house settlement? Not the Grove Collective.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm Steven Willis from the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, a former Ole Miss staff member and a member of the national media for about a decade. We are going to be joined in just a second by Walker Jones of the Grove Collective, and he is going to tell us everything that we need to know about this. The only thing that I can see happening is this is the end of the amateur era of college athletics. Other than that, the chaos and everything, it's going to exist just like before. But don't take my word for it. Let's go to Walker Jones. Walker Jones, the head of the Grove Collective, joins us, and it was an interesting weekend. We had a Friday news dump of basically the end of the amateurism era of college athletics at 8:45 at night. But we were talking off air before we started. You guys were prepared for this. Now all of a sudden it's just kind of instituting your plan, right?
That's right, Steven. I mean, yeah, look, it was nothing like dropping a bombshell at 8:45 on a Friday night. The timing could have been a little better, but nevertheless, we were kind of prepared for this, and as we've told our fans all along, we've had contingencies in place, for whether the settlement got approved, didn't get approved, or some version of the settlement. And, now it's just about executing those plans and putting those contingencies in motion. And so, yeah, it wasn't overly crazy. It was more of, okay, what's the first order of events and sequence that we need to, start operating, and, assuring our athletes that, they're still fine, and, their agreements are still, you know, in full force. And, we've done that. And I think we've proven to our fans that regardless of comes our way, we're going to always try to be at the front of the line in terms of, evolution and efficiency. And, this won't be any different. And we're going to continue to operate. And we've got a great cohesion between the athletic department, Keith and his staff, the athletic foundation, Denson Hollis, and then the collective with our group. And, we talk all regularly, so we're all very well connected, and, we'll just keep executing.
What does Ole Miss fans need to know after this settlement? Because they know that players are going to start getting revenue sharing from TV contracts and stuff like that. But what does this actually mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's essentially allowing for schools, which again, most state laws had already adapted this, but it basically now allows for universities to directly share their revenue with student athlete, which was prohibited originally. Hence why the Grove Collective and other institutions popped up were to, fill that void, and to be able to pay the student athletes their worth and their value. Now, universities are able to do that through the money they generate. And, so it'll execute differently. It'll look a little different, but the end result will be, pretty much the same in the sense of the athletes, being valued and being compensated. There is a clearinghouse called NIL Go that Deloitte is running, that is supposedly charged with managing third party NIL and assigning reasonable compensation and fair market value analysis. That's probably the biggest unknown, is how is that going to actually work? Is it really going to be able to survive the inevitable legal challenges that it's going to face? Because if you think about it, most universities essentially, and especially the Power Four schools, were already spending more than $20.5 million. So this settlement allows for a revenue share of $20.5 million amongst those varsity sports on campus. But again, like I said, the majority of Power Four schools are already spending well above that number. So, the collectives, the other groups, corporations, brands, will have to now supplement that additional payroll on top of the rev share cap, because that's all the school can pay. They can't exceed that cap. And that's where that Deloitte clearinghouse will come in to try to monitor and regulate, fair market value on those supplemental NIL deals. And that's where we're going to have to be really good as a group, with the Grove Collective and our marketing agency, Magnolia Sports Group, which we started last year in preparation for the settlement. So again, we were wanting to be ahead of the curve, and so we've got a corporate sponsorship agency that's tied to the Grove Collective that's going to handle our corporate and brand activation and create these legitimate opportunities for our student athletes to supplement on top of that rev share cap.
So the marketing agency that you guys created, exactly what would that look like? What is their role?
Yeah, it's going to be, really working to support our student athletes, support the athletic department by bringing, brand activation, corporate activations, sponsorships to our student athletes from, the Oxford community, the greater Mississippi community, the Southeast. We've got a lot of really marketable student athletes at Ole Miss. We've obviously had one of the best years from a success standpoint in college athletics at Ole Miss. So there's a lot of attention on our brand as a university, and we've got, like I said, great young men and women who do a great job of telling their stories off the field or off the court. And so Magnolia Sports Group is going to work directly with the athletic department, with Learfield, our multimedia rights provider, and create these engagements and these brand partnerships, which will give our athletes an ability to expand their earning potential and their value outside of that rev share cap. And quite frankly, Stephen, this is going to be the new battleground for competitive advantage, because pretty much all schools are going to have that rev share cap, that 20.5, and the ones that are able to operate and supplement that with really smart and creative, corporate activations, brand activations, commercial NIL opportunities for our student athletes. That's where the competitive advantage is going to live, and that's what myself, the Grove Collective, and Magnolia Sports Group are going to be charged with. And that's why we still need our fans and our businesses to support our entities. If you're a business owner, if you're a corporation, we need you to become a corporate partner, with Magnolia Sports Group and the Grove Collective, so we can create those opportunities. And if you're a current member to the collective, we still need you to continue to give, because we're going to create fan experiential opportunities with our student athletes through that mechanism. So that's what, in some respects, our job is going to become even more valuable in some areas. And our relevancy is going to be just as important as it was prior to the settlement, because our athletes are going to need the ability to achieve their full value. That's going to help in recruiting. It's going to help in retention. And that's where the competitive advantage is going to live going forward.
It's pretty interesting because you talked about outside of the 20.5 that everybody has the ability to do, the Power Four is already doing that. What are you anticipating in this current academic year, the number that the members of the collective need to get to, probably?
I think the biggest thing is we don't need to go backwards. Okay. We need to continue to put one foot in front of the other and keep moving forward. And look, I know it's a lot. Our fans get asked to give a lot, season tickets and parking and travel and coming to and from games. And look, it's expensive. I get it. And I couldn't be more humbled and appreciative and grateful for what our fans have done to this point. And I think that's what they just need to continue to do. I don't really sit here and go, hey, I have to get to 8,000 members, or I've got to get to $10 million. It's not really about that specific goal. It's about continuing to build on what we have and continue to be really, really creative and efficient. Because I've been a firm believer, and I think I've said it before on your show, Stephen, like, we don't have the margin for error that some of the other schools have. And we've got to make $1 spend like three. We've got to be really, really efficient and targeted. And so, we just need our fans to continue to believe in the mission of what the Grove Collective and Magnolia Sports Group can do to supplement and in addition to this rev share cap that the settlement has allowed. Because not only is it going to help us recruit and retain players, it's going to provide great value to them, to our university, to the Oxford community, to the Ole Miss, or the larger Ole Miss community. And all those things have, that's the rising tide that lifts all boats. And So I try to stay away from like specific targeted goals and just say, look, we don't need to go back. We need to continue to keep making progress going forward, and know, and our fans know that every dollar they give us is a very thoughtful and impactful instance for us that we're going to put to great use.
The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performance, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's game-winning shots or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I know baseball is a four-letter word at Ole Miss right now, but over in MLB, the Detroit Tigers have the best record in baseball, and that's largely because of Kerry Carpenter, Spencer Torkelson, Riley Green. Maybe a same-game parlay is an option for you, or if you're just Ole Miss, you can check them. They're a 37.5-point favorite over the Georgia State Panthers in the latest FanDuel odds. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel. It's an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Let's go back to Walker Jones and find out what's going on with the house settlement. You know, this is just a thought that I just had, so if it's stupid, tell me. I have no problem if it's stupid, and I have stupid ideas all the time. As the games and everything is being kind of grouped around Oxford, everything's becoming much more localized through TV and everything else, to where somebody from Gulfport is going to have a hard time getting to Oxford. Has the Grove Collective started to think of the ideas like, hey, what if we get in the watch party game? What if we try to mobilize the fans outside the ring where they're going to be able to get to Oxford, to where we can expand this fan base that we already have?
No doubt. And that's not a stupid idea. And rarely are there any stupid ideas in NIL, because, you really got to be thinking of everything, and you got to, try everything, like the celebrity softball game we had last week, which, was an idea that came up with, Javon Patterson and Matt McLaughlin, myself, and others. Just, those guys had a thought around how do we capitalize on the softball team's success and this kind of dead period in the summer. And we just kind of all got everybody together and, put that celebrity softball game into motion, and it was a huge success. So again, I think you have to be willing to try a little bit of everything. And, watch parties are captive audiences of people that can't get to Oxford as frequently as they would like, but yet they're diehard fans and they love to win and be successful. And so, yeah, I mean, and we've had conversations with the alumni. So I think that's the other piece of this, that, the reason why the Grove Collective and Magnolia Sports Group, have to stay active, is that we have been able to foster and build a great relationship with the Alumni Association, with the M Club, with the Chancellor's Office, with Keith Carter in the athletic department, with Denson House and OMAF and Learfield. Like, all those stakeholders all add value, and they all want to help. And, I think at Ole Miss, that's what we've been able to figure out is we're so much better when we're aligned. And, I think those are the things that, like, when we talk about having watch parties, we need the Alumni Association support on that. When they need help with something on the M Club, man, I love nothing more being a former player and an M Club member to do something with our M Club as well. And we're going to have some more programming coming up here in August, a golf tournament. We're going to do our second annual Grove Collective golf tournament here in August. And so we're going to continue. A lot to the fan, Steven, won't look much different. Take the settlement side. The collective is still going to operate at a high level. The biggest difference is going to be Magnolia Sports Group, which is going to be really a corporate facing agency to foster those activations with our student athletes. But for the most part, our fans, aren't going to see a massive change. It's going to continue to operate, like we do, with a few minor adjustments behind the scenes on how the athletes actually get their money. but we're handling all that behind the scenes, and to our fans and to our alumni and our donors, it should look really similar.
Okay, a couple more questions and I'll let you go. I do appreciate you coming on the show today. How's the Grove Collective kind of moving to protect itself? You mentioned the marketing group, but I mean, the Grove Collective as the general fans world news kind of changed Friday night. So what are you doing to make sure? Because the NCAA, you've heard them on Capitol Hill talking about how they're railing against collectives. Their goal is obviously to eliminate collectives. What are you doing to stay relevant and kind of evolve?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think that's something we think about every day. Again, I'm lucky enough to have a great partnership with our university and a friendship with our athletic director Keith Carter, and a close relationship with our chancellor Glenn Boyce, and again, all those stakeholders I just previously mentioned. I don't think you can survive without that, to be honest with you. And you've seen a lot of other schools and collectives that have either been folded internally or completely dissolved. And, really the only way forward in our space is to have that trust and that tight alignment and organization that we have here at Ole Miss. So that gives me comfort, that we have that. Yeah, look, does the NCAA want to get rid of every collective? Absolutely. Does the SEC want to get rid of every collective? Probably. So yeah, it's sometimes a lonely place to be, and we take a lot of bullets. There's no doubt about it. But as I've said, and as I've said for years, we do far more good than harm, and we had to step into a vacuum and a void because of the model that we were given. Collectives didn't create any of this. We were born out of necessity for athletes to be able to get compensated, and so. I just want people to remember that we're here for the greater good. We're here to reward our athletes for their success and for their value. We're here to add some semblance of order and operation and compliance and accountability that did not previously exist. So we still serve a great purpose, and I think Keith believes in that. And regardless of some of those traditional stakeholders that want to, burn us off into existence, I think we're going to continue. Now we're going to continue in a different form than what we were, and that's a good thing. We're evolving. Like I said, the Grove Collective, we're shipping a lot of operation over to our newly created agency, Magnolia Sports Group, which is a subsidiary of the collective. And we did that for this very reason, evolution, and we need to adapt and evolve. So collectives will look different, and they should look different. And I think that's how you survive, quite frankly, Stephen, is it's the old Brad Pitt statement in Moneyball, adapt or die. And if you don't adapt, then you're probably not going to be here much longer. And we are going to adapt. We have adapted. And that's why, when the news hit Friday night, yeah, it was like, oh, wow, it's here. But there wasn't a lot of panic because we kind of had all these contingencies put in place between all the different groups that we work with on campus.
Okay, and the $100 million question that the fans are going to have: what does all of this actually do to the Ole Miss fan? How, if anything, are they going to notice anything?
Again, they're not going to notice a tremendous difference, because, we're going to handle the behind the scenes and the mechanics of how the athletes, get compensated and the mechanism which that works and the reporting and all that. So, we're going to handle all that. They won't have to get down those rabbit holes. I think really the biggest thing is going to be to continue to support us in what we're doing. And I think the other piece is really, really important is as much commercial activation and involvement as we can have from our business community. That's really where we need to be elite is, working with the city of Oxford and Mayor Tannehill and really building our Grove Collective business coalition, because that's going to be the new hunting ground. That's going to be the new competitive advantage, as I said previously. And so I just really challenge all our fans that, to get your businesses involved, reach out to us. We can get very creative. That's going to help us, stay compliant, stay relevant, stay competitive. in the areas that I previously mentioned. But yeah, it's big news. It is big news. It's groundbreaking legislation. There's no doubt about it. Long time coming. But for the average fan, you're not going to really see a ton of difference. You're going to come to your game. We're going to be really, really good and really competitive. You're going to see the athletes activating, with the university and around town and with other businesses. So there shouldn't be a massive change to our fans.
Should be pretty awesome. Anyway, thank you, Walker, for coming on and kind of setting the record straight, because you notice you're going to get information from everywhere and it's going to be saying 50 different things. So this is kind of straight from the mouth of the expert of what's going on. We do appreciate it, buddy.
Appreciate you, Steven. Glad you're doing well, buddy. Happy to answer any other questions, and just want to thank Rebel Nation for your support, and continue to support us, and just know that every dime you give to us is well thought out, very impactful, and we're going to be great stewards of your money if you continue to give. So thank you so much, and hotty toddy.
Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves on offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we are the front door of Ole Miss. Whenever people have questions about Ole Miss, they come to this show. That's really cool. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith offers many of the latest rumors and portal entries, as well as signings. Be informed on the rapid changes around college football. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hotty toddy, everybody. And remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you tomorrow.